If you're wanting to talk about the overratedness of any given season, like I do, you can come at it from a couple of angles. First, in general, you have to see, well, was this season anticipated to begin with? And that's easy enough to find out. You just gotta go have a look at what people were saying before the season come out. Were people saying things like,
drop one of the most stacked seasons in years?
And then you can come at it from the other angle of, are people still saying that it was a great season even after the fact? And turns out,
it's been a good season for anime, allegedly.
Very good season for anime, I'd say.
One of the best.
I don't know if I'd go that far.
One of the best of all time.
Not of all time. Of like maybe the last few years.
Taco Piece, Summer Hikaru died. Panty and Stocking.
Anne Shirley.
New Panty and Stocking. And Shirley's still going. Muri
Ruri Rocks.
Gachi Akuta. Ruri Rocks. Yeah.
Your favorite, The Water Magician?
But, of course, if you're trying to determine whether or not a season was overhyped, you can always do the lazy thing and just say, well, was it overhyped for any particular person? Because if a season was the best ever or the best for a long while, that is all personal preference, right? Was there like X amount of shows this past season that spoke to you that were absolutely amazing, more so than in seasons past? For me, obviously, the answer was no, because that was kind of what brought this whole video about to start, right? When I kept on hearing people say that not only was this past summer season of 2025 a good season, and I could agree with that, but I heard people saying that it was like the best season we've had in years. And to that, I'm like, was it though? And I know that people like different shows than I do. I might put less of a preference on certain shows than others, but just how prevalent this particular thought was that this past season has been that good, it surprised me slightly. Because I look at any individual season and I judge its worth based on how many absolutely stellar shows there are. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people use that exact same metric. The thing is that people determine what a superb show is differently from one another. And I'm sure there are people out there that liked Clevites a lot more than I did. I dropped it after, I think, 7 or 8 episodes. Not that it was bad. If you like that particular kind of dark fantasy, good for you. It just wasn't for me. But if you did like it, well, then there's one particular more notch on the this season is amazing list. And so for me, when I first heard that, I kind of ignored it. I was just like, okay, well, if one person says it's the greatest season ever, that's not too difficult. You get that almost every season, depending on how things work. But then I just kept hearing it. And then I was just like, were we watching the same seasons or am I just completely devoid of reality? It's probably the second one. So I looked up my list and I was just like, okay, well, what did I actually finish from last season? Because, as I do, I like to make a video at the start of every season going over a very brief overview of every show. In fact, that very video for this upcoming season is the thing that I'm procrastinating on by making this video, but c'est la vie. And I looked back on it and I determined that I only really finished watching 4 shows. And I'm not even gonna say that the shows that I finished were utterly amazing with few exceptions. I watched all the way through of Ruri Rocks. I love the Ruri Rocks. I would recommend Ruri Rocks for a lot of people and a lot of different reasons, but I also would not necessarily put it in the pantheon of greatest things ever, because not everyone is going to enjoy a show about mineralogy that happens to rely more on plot than plot. I don't begrudge it for doing that, but I can acknowledge the reality that we live in. Also, looking at a season, I generally don't like looking at sequels. Like when I do my seasonal overview every 3 months, we don't talk about sequels, we don't talk about prequels, we don't talk about spin-offs, and generally that's because, well, to be fair, I don't want to actually tie myself down to making sure that I've watched every season 1 ever when a new season is announced, and it's not fair of me to judge a second season based on a first season that I never finished. That doesn't make sense to me. So just blanket, it is easier not to do that. But also, if I'm hype about a particular season, it's usually not tied down to a sequel. I almost claim the hype that I feel towards a second season just towards the season where the first one came out, because it's just continuing on. Most times, it's just continuing on my thoughts from the previous season. Dandadan this season was like that. Dandadan, amazing season, really good, enjoyed the heck out of it, but I wouldn't put my excitement on it towards this season. Why would I do that? It is just continuing what season 1 from last year did with a worse OP, arguably. I know at least one person that has tried to argue me against that. He probably won't be the last. But season 2 of Dawn to Dawn, if you watch it, and I'm not going to give spoilers to it, of course, it does not start the series, it does not end the series, it is kind of a midpoint, and it is still great and exceptional all the way through, but like, it started in a different season, it is going to end in another season, and for whatever reason, it just doesn't sit well with me to place the excitement I have for it for this specific season, probably because there is going to be a time in the future where I forget that it was even part of this season, because I will just attach it to everything else. It'll just be like, well, Dawn to Dawn existed in 2024, and it will always, in my mind, exist within 2024 because the show just kept going, right? We didn't have a break or anything. That's just how my mind will process it. So then when you remove all of the sequels from Summer, like, what else do you have? Well, you have shows like Fragrant Flower, but there's not an insignificant amount of people that didn't watch Fragrant Flower because it was a Netflix show that got put in Netflix jail. And I know some people were following along with it week by week. And to you, I say, hi, I am also a plunderer of the booty, and not in the same way as Ruri Rocks. That would have actually been a much more interesting segue. No. So like with Fragrant Flower, I'm going to say, yes, the season did have good shows, but I'm not here trying to figure out whether or not the season was good, because it was a good season. I just have issue when people call it the best season, because, you know, I don't think it was. Good season, good shows. Yes, Summer Hikaru died. You're watching Summer Hikaru died. You better be watching Summer Hikaru died, even if you put it on hold like I did until later, because it just became one of those shows that you don't want to watch week to week. Totally fine. We're all going to come back to it, right? And then you're going to have people that try to tell me, well, a particular show is just so exceptional that it kind of blows away the boundary, so that even if you just have one or two other minor things, that's what makes it an amazing season ever. And chances are, after I finished my talk there of Dawn to Dawn, you were just like, well, you didn't really watch Dawn to Dawn, did you? Because if you did, you would know just how amazing it was and why obviously this season is better because it exists. And to that I say, well, I mean, Dawn to Dawn is great. I loved Dawn to Dawn, but it wasn't even the only show that had a spontaneous mech appearance in it. That was awesome, but it wasn't the only show to do that. And then I think back to what that other show was, and I think to myself, you know what? No, actually, this season's been pretty peak. Surprise, we're talking about Milky Subway today. Let's hijack my own video, why not? Milky Subway is a 3D animated series that exists entirely on YouTube. Did you know it exists? I hope you did, and if you didn't, you know now. You're welcome. It is an extremely short anime. It has got 12 episodes, and each episode is only about 4 minutes long on average. And, you know, normally I don't cover those shows. If you watch my seasonals, you'll know I don't watch the short series. I don't, because honestly, a lot of the times they're not great. They are passable, but short anime have the problem of where you only got a handful of minutes. You only got like 3 or 4 minutes. And so what do you do with those 3 or 4 minutes to make it actually meaningful, to make it impactful? And 9 times out of 10, the answer is going to be, well, we're just going to adapt a 4-koma manga, something that is like very short and quick, and the joke is there and can be done in like 3 or 4 minutes. The problem with that, as with any comedy, as I've probably said a billion times before, and sorry for sounding like a broken record for people that have been following me a long time, comedy is subjective, and most of the time those 4-koma manga adaptations are trash. However, Milky Subway is not that. Firstly, it's not an adaptation of a 4-koma manga. It's not an adaptation of anything. It's an original anime, and it is fantastic. It is one of the best, to me, examples of how you can tell a story in an extremely short amount of time. Not just a story, but how can you have entertainment? Because I mean, really, if I think about it, and if I wrote all the plot down of Milky Subway on a piece of paper, it probably wouldn't be all that interesting. And that's kind of the genius of what I find with this show. It is not just a matter of it can tell a funny or an entertaining story. It's the fact that it tells a story and it introduces a not small cast of characters, and it lets development happen for all of them in an extremely short amount of time while also telling its story. The whole thing in total is only about 45 minutes. In 45 minutes, we have 7 main characters that we rotate through and that we talk to. We see flashbacks, we see flash forwards. We just see how they interact when they meet up with one another for the first time. It is a fantastic series. So what is it about? Basically, Milky Subway, in short, follows 6 delinquents who have all been arrested for a lot of very different reasons. And because the prison system in the area is too full, the local police officer assigned to their case, who is just exasperated almost at all times and tries to find, entertainment in the small bits of life that she can. She ends up bringing them to their community service, which they have to do in lieu of being imprisoned, and their community service is cleaning up a particular subway. Not like the tunnels, a subway train. And this subway train, after they all get on it and begin their job, ends up malfunctioning and taking them on an interesting journey to absolutely nowhere. The journey is not the point. How these characters interact in the very small amount of time that we have is, because they don't know each other. They are all differing levels of delinquency, but at the same time, they have enough to them that you get them. So I've had a problem with shows before that end up using cookie cutter character archetypes, and that's kind of all it is. Now, archetypes like that are useful for short series like Milky Subway because they can get a lot across with very little information. You don't need to know much about a particular character. You can just say, hey, they are obviously this archetype. You know who they are now. But Milky Subway, it starts with that. But then when each of them get their own sort of character arc, as small as it is, they're able to take that archetype and then just expand it beyond that point. I can give arguments for they didn't do well enough, but they 45 minutes, what do you expect? So there are 2 of the male delinquents, Kurt and Max. They are probably the least developed of the crew, but also they rely more heavily on particular Japanese stereotypes. And if you happen to know those stereotypes, you understand it a bit more. Like just the fact that one of their major introductions is both of them in a bathroom fixing their gelled hair. Just start off with that, and now you kind of get where they're coming from and what they're doing. You know that they've been smuggling. You learn later that they can do any job as long as it pays well, but they've never been really well thanked all that much. And that's kind of like the whole point of their story. And I'm finding myself limited in what I want to say about even these small characters because I don't want to spoil the damn thing for you. Right? Because I could easily make a video talking about Milky Subway that is longer than all of Milky Subway. It makes far more sense for you to just go and watch the thing. And as I probably put in the motion graphic that I haven't designed yet, but is living rent-free in my head for this particular video that'll go up on my channel, this is an Anime of the Year contender, which it blows my mind to really think about. If you told me only a few months ago, hey, one of your Anime of the Year contenders is going to be a short anime, I would respond, I don't want short anime, because I don't. I ignore them, and I ignored this for far too long. Thankfully, I caught it on the tail end just as the final 2 episodes were coming out, but my God, am I glad I did. Because all it is about these 6 delinquents, they're stuck on a train, and how do they get off of the train, right? How do they escape this situation and, get back to the police station and hopefully not get in more shit than they already were for the various things that they were arrested for? How does the police supervisor who's just had enough shit in her life and doesn't want to deal with much anymore, how does she handle all of this? How does she interact with these delinquents? How do they interact with her or don't, because she's a cop? All of these little tiny interactions. And the fact that largely this show is just made by one guy. You can read the credits. It is a little odd to me when I do read the credits because there is one name that pops up everywhere, which makes me feel like they did the vast majority of the work. But then also, this show has got 4 producers and executive producers. There is a lot of names there. It's not like it's just the one name listed for everything except perhaps voice acting. But at the same time, you got one name for the original work, director, screenplay, character designer, and production of the thing. So they did a lot. And just the idea that this whole thing was mostly made by one person, not a production committee, not a mangaka who handed the reins of their story over to something else, which is the usual fare for anime of these days. It is just such a wonderful breath of fresh air, and it is so freaking good. It is entertainment. That's kind of the thing. I was thoroughly entertained to the point that I've watched the whole thing multiple times now. I don't do that normally. Like, even with shows that I utterly love. Currently, my favorite anime of all time, as it stands, as I am recording this, is Frieren at Journey's End. I have watched that show in its entirety twice. Now, I've seen bits and pieces of the show, scattered episodes, more than that. But as far as like actually sitting down and watching the whole thing, twice. Now, Milky Subway is a little bit easier for that because, you know, it's only 45 minutes long. So 2 of those viewings were on the same night because I wanted to remind myself just how good it was and whether or not I actually would stand by putting it as an Anime of the Year contender. Spoilers, yes, I would. And then I also watched the dub of it because the first time I went through it, I watched it in sub because you want to watch it in the original language in which it was created for. And then I wanted to see how the dub was. The dub's actually pretty good. It only had one major flaw to it in my mind, which was some of the roles are doubled up by the same voice actor, which they do their best. My ears can tell. And I'm not trying to put that in as a bragging thing. It's one of those, my ears can tell but not confirm, in that if you have one actor that is playing 2 characters in the scene, I didn't peg that it was the same actor doing both roles. My mind just told me something was wrong. That is the level of how much I caught it. I'm not like great being like, I knew all the time. You just changed your voice ever so slightly for a different character, but I, the master of voices, have figured it out. No, I'm not like that. My mind just told me something's wrong here, and I can't quite put my finger on it, and it pulled me out of it. And then, of course, when I went to double check who did the voices, I noticed that a couple of the characters are doubled up, and I'm like, oh, that's what my mind was trying to tell me. Now I understand. That's kind of the only negative I have for it, but even then, I mean, that considering how this series probably had next to no budget, which is the reasons why the one person did so much work, I can only understand. Oh, also that the fact that they have it in like 5 different languages, they dubbed it in so many different languages. This thing is dubbed into English, into Portuguese, Korean, Chinese, Thai, Indonesian, French, Hindi, Spanish, and Russian. Like, this is not a majorly backed series, or at least I didn't think it was, because if it was, what's it doing on YouTube? That's the other thing. This was released entirely on YouTube. It has gotten popular enough where apparently it is going to be combined and released as a theatrical feature, which I'm interested to see. Not only because I hope that when they do that, they expand on it, because if you're going to make it a theatrical feature, I hope it's going to be longer than the 45 minutes it is, and they actually bump it up to like 90. 90 would be great, but then if you're going to do that, well, what are you going to add? What are you going to do? Also, this show is very good at making the cliffhangers at the end of every 4 minutes work very well. The title card, when it pops in every couple of episodes, that they do it very well. It's just like, it's part of the joke, and I love that, and I'm curious as to how that's going to change when you don't have the title card cut in every 4 minutes. Like, how is that going to happen? But I mean, all of this to say, Milky Subway is absolutely amazing. This is my video on Milky Subway that I'm not going to title as such, because why would I? No one's going to click on it if I do. I hope I have convinced you to check out Milky Subway, because if you've clicked on a video of mine before that's like 20, even 40 minutes long, and you've been entertained enough to watch that, my God, is Milky Subway going to be good entertainment for you? Click on the playlist. I'll put a link in the description probably, so it'll be nice and easy for you. And you should go and watch Milky Subway, because a couple of months from now, I'm going to be making my Anime of the Year video, and Milky Subway is going to be in it. I don't know where. It'll probably be in the top 5. It might be near the top. I don't know yet if it's going to be number 1. We'll see, and I don't want to spoil what will be number 1 if it's not this. However, my God, is this going to be in the top 5? Unless, I get like 5 other things in this coming season, in which case this coming season is going to be the absolute best season of all time. Because if there were 5 shows or 4 shows, or however many shows that would top Milky Subway to kick it out of the top 5, that all come out in this coming season, my God, yeah, that'll be the best season ever. And it won't be overhyped, or it will be for everyone else who's not me. So was summer 2025 overhyped? I mean, considering nobody really included Milky Subway when they were talking about it, and still probably don't, yes. If you're including Milky Subway, no. Summer 2025 was actually really peak and really great. Is it the best that we've had in a number of years? It's close. It's in the top 5. Thanks for watching. Look out for my seasonal video later the month, and until then, stay frosty, my gentle viewers. And watch Milky Subway. I'm gonna make it very easy for you, so you should do it. Okay? Now I got to go and sort out getting footage off my phone because I'm doing this whole dual camera thing and it's probably going to look like shit.